Can you take us through what you feel led to the injury and what the injury is exactly?
Wow, you're just cutting right to the chase, eh? Holy cow, not even like an intro, state your name or nothing, just a cut to the chase.
Why do you need to state your name? This is your YouTube
I don't know,
channel.
generally you warm up the interviewee with some small talk.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just
Hey, Lionel, how's it going?
jump into some difficult questions right there.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm up and down. Unfortunately, it's I feel like I'm not really in control of the situation at the moment, so I'm kind of just playing it day by day. That's about it.
So you're taking things day by day. So you are injured. So can you tell us a little bit more about the injury and what you feel led to the injury?
Why, sure. Indeed, I can. I don't know. I'm more like a conversational type person, so we'll have to just have to have conversation with each other.
I am. These are just guiding questions for me.
So I was doing my long ride on March 18th, and 4 hours or so in, and extremely thirsty, and stopped at a water fountain to take a quick drink, and wanted to be cool. Was feeling cool, feeling confident. Been riding my bike outside for days, taking corners fast, and balanced at the water fountain, and didn't unclip or anything, and just held onto the fountain and took the drink, and lost my balance, was unable to unclip my left foot, and fell directly over onto my left butt cheek, and didn't really think anything of it. Extremely embarrassed, so I just hopped back up, was a little cut up, and got on my bike, rode away as quick as I could, rode for another hour, got off the bike, ran 21 Ks. Didn't really feel too bad, too much. The next day was absolutely dead. Sat on the couch until 2 p.m. and finally mustered up some energy to do my brick workout. But because I was lazy, I didn't do a warm-up run or anything. And so anyways, I did the brick workout, had about 40 minutes of quality running and an hour of quality biking. And then the next day, I started to feel pain in my left sort of upper glute area, and I'd had in my right glute in 2014 or so. I had like a sciatic, I believe to be sciatic nerve impingement, and so it felt very similar. So that's what I thought it was. So I figured, okay, not too bad. Should be able to train through it, because I trained through that injury and I got some massage, and it eventually went away. And so the next day I ran 35K on the pavement, and then the next day I did a hard bike workout and a hard run workout. But in that run workout, it was extremely painful in the warm-up, and I could feel it earlier on the bike workout too. And it took me about 5 kilometers to finally have it loosen up enough to say, okay, I think I can do this workout. And in my mind, I probably shouldn't have done the workout, but it was literally the last day in the block, and I really, really wanted to complete the block as prescribed. And so I ended up doing the run workout, and then by the end of that workout, it was supposed to be 40 minutes of quality. I only did 35 because it was extremely painful at around 30 minutes into 35 minutes. And then basically I walked around extremely painful, limping around. And then the next day I woke up, I couldn't put any pressure onto my left leg. I actually went to CVS and bought a cane because I literally couldn't walk. And then obviously I knew I had done something very bad. But I still thought it was the nerve impingement. And so I went about for the next 2.5 weeks or so trying to treat what I thought to be a nerve impingement. Seen a few different people, and then eventually I started to think maybe it's SI joint dysfunction, and had like a brace and stuff for the SI joint, and various soft tissue whatever workings. Still wasn't improving. Ended up flying my massage therapist out because he's the one who fixed me the first time with the sciatic nerve impingement. He worked on me for 4 days straight, hard work, and I kind of felt like I was coming around, and then I stopped testing it and stuff. I was constantly like putting my weight onto it to see, is it better? And it wasn't better. But finally, after he came down, I started to feel some relief, and so basically I took another week completely off, and I figured, okay, it's really starting to feel good. I'm able to walk around and stuff. And then Aaron and I went for a run together. I thought I'd be able to do a run, and I went pretty much the first step, it was back, and we ran like a kilometer, like jogging basically, and I knew then that I was starting to think stress fracture, obviously by that time, because it was just being so stubborn. So then I finally went to see a doctor, and to be honest, I saw 2 doctors, and they both, they did all the tests for fractures, and I passed all the tests, and so they both were like, very unlikely that it's a fracture. But the one said, but just in case, we'll send you for an MRI in the hip area to see for sure. And so then I went for the MRI, and then I went back a few days later, and the unfortunate result was that it was a fracture in my sacrum, clear as day on the MRI. So obviously explains why it was being extremely persistent, not really getting any better even after literally weeks of very low intensity activity or nothing. So actually, from one standpoint, probably was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because originally we were starting to think it was tendinopathy, and apparently tendinopathy is something that once you get it, is extremely difficult to get rid of, and you could even go months on end with maybe perhaps not feeling it, and then all of a sudden it comes back. So the one upside to it being a broken bone is that if you take care of it properly, a broken bone will heal, and actually that area where you fractured it oftentimes will heal and be stronger than the surrounding area. So it's pretty unlikely that you'd ever fracture that area again. So that's one of the upsides. But yeah, it was quite taxing for those 2.5 weeks or so, because I had Oceanside coming up. I had my big race that I was prepping for was Ironman Texas, and so everything was up in the air, and I didn't know what it was, and it's just extremely stressful not knowing why you're feeling the pain, and not knowing how to correct it, what you should and shouldn't be doing. And so the one upside to it being a broken bone is it's a pretty definite rehabilitation. It's a pretty definite trajectory for how to go about healing it, as well as how long it's going to take if you do it properly. So I guess that was one of the upsides. And once I had a definite diagnosis, I sort of felt like a bit of a weight was lifted, even though I knew it was super crap, because the diagnosis was 9 to 12 weeks, pretty much 12 weeks, no running. Maybe after 8 weeks or so, get back into some biking, some real biking, but a solid 9 to 12 weeks of no running, which for me, I haven't taken off more than 2 weeks in 10 years. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and in that time I haven't taken off more than 2 weeks. So to be forced into a 12-week layoff took some certainly was a coping process and a learning process to deal with the emotion. But here I am. This is today marks 4 weeks, slowly starting to come to terms with the thing and dealing with it. And fortunately, I think on the other side we'll have learned a lot of lessons. We'll put some things into place to make sure, if there was some overtraining happening that perhaps led to the bone weakening, to make sure that doesn't happen again. As well, along this pathway, I've also uncovered some other things. Obviously we had some vitamin D testing just to make sure we don't have like low vitamin D and kind of osteoporotic, and that came back pretty low, on the low side of things. So So maybe there's something there, diet related or something. It's kind of odd because I had been here in Tucson for 2 months, so you would think your vitamin D would be at a good level. So that's something we'll probably test again to see now that we've taken like a multivitamin to see if that's moving in the right direction. And then of course, the biggest lesson I would say that I'll take home from this, in the event that I do believe that the fall played a large role, because it was literally right after that moment that the pain started to come in the few training sessions after. But if there was some overtraining, this will allow us to dissipate that overtraining, and then B, put things in place to not allow that kind of fatigue to build up again, and C, one of the, I guess, phrases, if you want to call it that I've come up with is, an injured athlete is worthless for the most part, and you have to do everything in your power to make sure that you don't get injured. And so one of the things, I was maybe a little overzealous with the pavement running when I got here, because it was like coming from Canadian winter, doing everything on the treadmill. Suddenly I've got beautiful running path to run on. It's sunny out, it's warm out, and I did basically 3 straight weeks, few runs on the treadmill, but 3 straight weeks on the pavement coming off of the treadmill. So this is a lesson I probably had semblances of learning in the past, because I did so much on the treadmill. I knew that it provided less taxation on the joints and stuff, but now I've probably got a much deeper appreciation for not taxing your joints and your bones and that sort of thing with the pounding. So in the future, I definitely am going to spend, let's call it 60% or so of my time on the treadmill. I mean, you talk to 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers of what you should be doing. But it does seem, with regards to bone growth, that the number one thing to get the bone growing again, once of course it's not moving and it's set, is mechanical stimulation, which probably their definition of mechanical stimulation and mine are a bit different. But in the beginning, I probably was going maybe a little too hard on the bicycle, but now I've committed to the recovery process, and so now I'm not allowed to push over 200 watts. I'm trying to keep it less, 150 watts or so, just literally spinning my legs. And that's providing movement of the muscles, which is mechanical stimulation of that area. And so that's sort of keeping me somewhat sane. And now I finally feel confident enough to get back in the pool as well. And I can't flip turn. I have to use a pull buoy, and not supposed to push off hard, just because it's the jumping, basically, motion. And of course the water is extremely resistant, so it's almost worse than jumping. But I am able to swim with a light push off, and so now I'm starting to bring back the swimming. And so it's going to be a great opportunity in that regard, because I'll be able to swim infinite amount, really. If I want to swim 50-60K a week, I can, because I have no running to do and very little biking. So those are my 2 main pieces. I'm also seeing physiotherapist, and he's given me some exercises to begin to sort of lay the foundation. If there has been some, and there certainly has been, inefficiencies, as you can see in my running gait, and that's something almost ironically I was in the process of addressing. I actually was scheduling an appointment with a really good chiropractor to assess sort of my limitations and stuff, who's well known in the industry for that. And I actually had the appointment coming up, and then I got this injury, and so I ended up going to see him under different circumstances. But so anyways, that's a piece of the rehabilitation process. And as I heal, I'll be able to obviously get progressively more into perhaps some strength training, core type exercises, mobility type exercises. And so, it sucks that I was already on that pathway prior to the injury, but I guess it's never too late, and I'll have to sort of push it back a little bit, and as I heal up enough, then I'll start to get into that a little more hardcore.
Have you found yourself having to pay a little bit closer attention to how many calories you're eating each day since you're not working out as hard, so you don't have some unexpected weight gain?
I mean, I'm already up like over 5 pounds, so I probably should start paying attention. I try not to look at the scale, to be honest with you. I did do a little bit of reading as well, and when you break a bone, I mean, it's not a significantly large bone, so I'm probably reading stuff of much larger bone breaks, but it is a calorically intense process, so you certainly don't want to reduce your calories because, for instance, one of the populations who this is a common occurrence in is college women, and one of the speculations is due to calorie control and that sort of thing. So college women runners, and so obviously I don't want to be like being in calorie deficits or anything. So what's the easier thing to do? Just listen to your body, listen to what the stomach is saying, and eat. Just not ridiculously. I have had the craving for a lot of cookies, but I am trying to limit that.
I guess the last thing is everyone wants to know if the goal still is Kona for this year. Do you think it's realistic, and what do you think it will take to get there healthy?
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the realizations that's a reality, I guess, for everyone, it just becomes a extreme realization when you're injured, is you're not really in control of the ship. And so I'm not in control of the ship right now. I can't, I'm doing everything I can to heal. I'm using an electromagnetic bone stimulator once a day. I'm eating well, taking the vitamin D, getting full night's sleep, rehabbing it, not putting big power or anything down, just very light stimulation. I'm doing everything I can. So let's say I'm in the normal window of recovery and it takes 12 weeks to get back to running. 12 weeks will be June 24th. So I'm hoping in 8 weeks that I'll be able to start riding my bike a little harder. Like I rode Kitts Peak with a broken sacrum at 415 watts for 41 minutes. So it's not like I can't ride my bike. It's that it's just delaying the healing process. So I'm hoping in 8 weeks, which is another 4 weeks from now, this thing has improved significantly in 4 weeks. So hopefully it improves even more rapidly the next 4 weeks, and even more rapidly the 4 weeks after that. I'm hoping to return to serious biking in June. So if you do the numbers on that, the last chance qualifier is Ironman Mont Tremblant on August 18th. That would give me, all of June, all of July, and let's say 10 days into August to prep on the bike. I'm going to be in the best swim form I've ever been in, just by virtue of having nothing else to do to focus on. As well, interestingly, my pulling has been terrible my whole life for whatever reason. I haven't figured it out. I've always hated pulling because I'm so slow. Now all I can do is pull, and I'm already making gains in that regard and learning lessons of sort of how my kick, I guess, has almost been serving as a core stabilizer when I actually haven't stabilized my core and my hips. I'm using the kicking to stabilize it, and so snaking around and stuff. It's offered a great opportunity to get in great swim form, and then hopefully if I can get back to running, but I can't force it, right? I certainly want to finish the season on a good note, so I want to race again this season without a doubt. If I can get back to running on June 24th, I'm pretty confident that I can get into good run form inside of good enough, I guess, run form inside of a month and a half. I mean, I took 3 years completely off of running and beat the crap out of myself with poor lifestyle choices, and within 2 weeks of running I ran sub 40-minute 10K with walking in it. So I mean, I'm certainly maintaining my fitness a bit. So I know I'm going to be able to get back pretty quickly to running as long as my body is healed. So that's the key component, is to allow the body to heal. So in a perfect world, I'll be on that start line at Ironman Mont Tremblant, and I'll at least get a shot at getting my Kona slot. And then obviously if I can make that happen, then plenty of time for Kona still. That's not off the table. If anything, if I could get to Kona, this probably would be an advantageous situation, having not pretty much every year of my career I've raced hard through these early months. So it would add a bit of freshness. But once again, it's not in my control. I'm not really driving the ship right now. I'm doing everything I can to the best of my ability, and hoping and praying that I will be able to make it to Kona this year, because once again, your mortality comes into to the forefront in these situations. It's like, dang, if this thing, I was fortunate in that it didn't separate, because if this thing's separated, it's the bone isn't fully separated. It fractured, but it's not off the the side of the sacrum. If it had separated, I would have had to gone in for surgery, and they would have had to cut in a very important piece of the puzzle, and the success rate is not like super great in that regard. So that could have been the end of my career as I know it. So it's been a very interesting. I still am learning the lessons and coming to terms with things, but in the end, I was blessed in that it didn't fracture completely or separate. Back stronger than ever, and I certainly will use this as an opportunity to improve, and I certainly will come back hungrier than ever, and I just can't wait. If I get the privilege of towing another line, it is going to be the most phenomenal thing ever, because one of the things I realize is I'm a racer. Training, it's all great, but I'm a racer, and I have had what I love taken away from me, and so I can't wait to get back and race.